Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. So in honour of Thriller-a-thon, I have been doing thriller themed videos all week, and this is going to be the final one of them, I think. And I'm going to be talking about the thriller tropes that I love. I did a video talking about thriller tropes I hate, which I'll link down below if you haven't seen it. It'll be my last uploaded video before this one anyway. But to kind of counter the negativity, I'm going to do the ones that I like, and yeah, I'm just going to talk about them. And to clarify, I'm calling these tropes, they're not all tropes, they're kind of like features of writing. I'm just calling them tropes because they're kind of, it's a short, concise name for them. But yeah, they're just going to be writing things that I like in my thrillers. First one I'm going to talk about is, I think, my favourite of all of these, and that is intense female friendships. So this is when the basis of the thriller, or a key component of the thriller, is a female-female friendship, and this can be like a sisterly bond, it can be mother-daughter bond, it can be friends from school, new friends, anything like that. For some reason I get really invested in reading about intense female friendships. I think that female friendships, and I'm trying not to offend anyone here because I know it's a very subjective area, but I think female friendships have a certain depth and elements to them that are interesting when explored in fiction. I went to an all-girls school, and the kind of toxicity of that environment alongside the benefits of that environment is something that I've thought about a lot, and I like it when books, particularly thrillers, focus on those elements and how you can have a really intense female friendship that has all these benefits, but also there's always a slight dark side to it. And yeah, I think it's a really good topic for thrillers to cover. I think it can be done with a lot of scope and a lot of variety in how it's handled. And if any thriller has in its synopsis that it's about like old friends clashing, or like a dark sisterly bond, any of that, I'm pretty much guaranteed to want to read it. The next trope I'm going to talk about is one that kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, and that is relationship-based paranoia. This is kind of hard for me to explain, and it's like a very generic thriller thing, but essentially, if most of the thriller is focused on how the main character feels like they're being messed with by someone in their life, and they're not certain that that person's messing with them, then I really enjoy that. This can be done badly, and often is done badly. If it is too obvious that the person is indeed messing with them, and the main character looks like an idiot for keeping that person in their life, which I've read examples of, or if the main character suspects more than one person with messing with them, and then that can work, but also can make the plot lose direction and kind of diversifies what I like about the paranoia, which is again that interaction between two people. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can understand what I mean by what I've said, but hopefully you can. But essentially what I like is that uncertainty in a relationship, whether that be friendship, romantic relationship, whatever. I like that driving the thriller, particularly if you doubt the protagonist. Like I said, if it's not obvious that the person is messing with them, and it could go either way, that's guaranteed to get me really invested in a thriller and keep me reading. The third trope I'm going to talk about is having a twist mid-story as opposed to right at the end. This very rarely happens, and I can think of a couple of examples, but I'm not going to name them for obvious reasons because it kind of spoils what happens in them. But some of my favourite thrillers have incorporated this. So the reason I like this so much is if you have a twist at the end, that's really good, don't get me wrong. Most thrillers have a twist at the end. I love thrillers. Obviously I love that happening. But if you have a twist mid-story, you have time to deal with the consequences and the fallout of that twist, and you're also not expecting it because most stories don't have a twist halfway through. So it means that you get time to explore what the twist actually means in more detail. It means the endings don't end up being rushed or overly focused on action, which again can be good. That's how most thrillers are. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I really happen to enjoy it when something happens and then the story is still good after the twist, because for me that shows that it's a really good piece of writing, really good plot, and there's more to it than just having a really shocking twist at the end that makes everyone rave about the book. It means that it can stand the test of time, and also usually I want to reread it, which is always a good thing. This next one I don't really think counts as a trope at all, but it is having an atmospheric setting. So again, a lot of thrillers kind of do this, but if you have a thriller that's set in like a creepy forest, a summer camp, an old house, any kind of non-traditional setting, then I will 100% be interested in checking out that thriller pretty much. I read a lot of domestic thrillers. They're the type of thrillers that I enjoy more, or enjoy the most I should say, and a kind of the trade-off of that is that most of them just take place in normal settings, so you know, characters are living their lives, and that works really well, that can be done well. But I don't know, a lot of the ones that stick out in my mind, like The Death of Mrs. Westaway, In a Cabin in the... no, not In a Cabin in the Woods, what's it called? In a Dark, Dark Wood. That's my mum's fault, she keeps combining In a Dark, Dark Wood and The Woman in Cabin 10, and she keeps calling it The Cabin in the Wood, so blame her for that little misspoken thing. But anyway, yeah, all those thrillers and more. The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, all of them, I get really invested in them. I love the fact that there's a creepy atmosphere. Maybe it's because I also love horror, so it kind of adds, it like ramps up the thriller aspect and adds a bit of creepiness that you can't necessarily find in a domestic setting. But yeah, I get really invested in stories if they have a good setting. And the final trope I'm going to talk about is maybe the most controversial, and that is having a dark protagonist. So what I mean by this is having a protagonist that isn't necessarily entirely morally great. Most thrillers have a protagonist who's done something wrong, because that usually is what drives the thriller, so they have a dark secret from their past. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about thrillers starring people who aren't necessarily good people. And the reason I think this might be controversial is because I've read a lot of reviews of some of my favourite books where people have complained that they can't identify with the protagonist, or that they want bad things to happen to them because they're a bad person. I'm not like that, in the respect that if I read fiction, don't want bad things to happen to people ever. I know for a lot of people it's cathartic, and I'm not judging you at all if you want to see like horrible people dismembered in your books, or you know, mentally tortured by people in their lives by being stalked, whatever. But for me personally, I'm never gonna enjoy someone having those things happen to them. So it doesn't matter to me if that person is the worst person in the world. I still am rooting for them in the sense that I don't want them to be killed by someone in a thriller story. So the best example of these that I can think of is Gillian Flynn. Sharp Objects, and particularly Dark Places. The protagonists aren't nice people, they're not necessarily good people, but they're some of my favourite thrillers because of the way that that's explored. And again, it's all focused on the character stuff. If you have strong character stuff in a thriller, I'm gonna love it. But I think it adds another element to the whole thriller thing as well, specifically whereby if the person isn't necessarily a good person, then they're gonna fight back to the horrible things that are happening to them, and they tend to be less accepting of the horrible things that are happening to them. So again, I think it just adds another interesting dynamic. I know I might be in the minority in this one, but it is a trope that I love. So yeah, that is all the tropes I love in thrillers that I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know what some tropes are that you love. And let me know what you think about, like, if you have any comments on the whole, how you want a protagonist to be like and how you end up rooting for them, because that's something I've thought a lot about lately, and I'd be interested to hear more people's thoughts on that. yeah, thank you so much for watching. I think this will be uploaded near the end of Thrillathon, so I hope Thrillathon has gone well for you if you're taking part. If you did like this video, give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively, and I hope to see you next time.